Thank you.
Live.
That'd be great.
This door here?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have a small group, but we do have a group. And those of you that didn't want to come to class because of the virus, we perfectly understand that. And you need to do whatever you need to do to make you feel safe. And tonight, I thought that I would talk about fear because it's kind of an issue right now. I was reading in A Course in Miracles this morning about fear, and so I thought, well, since I happened to be reading about it, I wasn't looking for it, it was just what was on the pages, that I would kind of cover that tonight, because fear is something that we can control. It seems like we can't control it. Right now, most people are very scared, and they are being dominated by those feelings. And I just left the grocery store, and I find it interesting that people are so afraid of getting sick, and yet we're being told that there are precautions we can take to wash our hands, to not expose ourselves in close proximity to people who are sick or who might be sick, to limit our time out in bars and things like that if that's what you're doing, and to make sure you wash your hands, don't touch your face, these kinds of things. So these are the precautions. And yet we're also told that the people who are at the highest risk are those that are elderly and have already health issues. So in other words, their immune systems are compromised. And yet when I went to the store, who's there? Mostly elderly, in a panic state, no food on the shelves, and it's like a petri dish of people who are the most susceptible to being sick. And they're not only all together, they're in a panic and stressed state. So I thought it would be good because we don't have to go there. In fact, when I go to the grocery store, I take my little basket, I get a few items. I did talk to the one of the clerks, and I said, is there a risk of running out of food? And he said, oh, no. Every night we get a full truck, it unloads, and by 11 o'clock in the morning, the shelves are empty. So he said the same people are coming in every day, whether they need the food or not, and they're buying, mass amounts of food. And of course, we all know about the toilet paper and the Kleenex and all that. So in spite of all that, I'm feeling very calm. I feel that everything is in divine order. I don't want anybody to die from the virus. Of course not. I'm very concerned that for all of you and your health. And that's why I say if it's not safe for you to be here, I totally respect that and honor that. Your safety is of the utmost importance. And if you are in that high risk category, there's no guarantee that you won't get it, but if you're in that high risk category, we want you to be as safe as possible and to feel safe. And feeling safe is part of the prevention, I think, that you know that you're taking care of yourself and you're making good decisions and you're listening to the Holy Spirit. You're not connected to the ego that is ramping up with all the news and getting more and more anxious and more stressed and debilitating your God-given natural immune system so that whatever might come your way, you're going to catch it because you're already so stressed out. So I want to talk tonight about fear because we are in a state of global panic right now. And I don't think that that's necessary. I don't see that it's helping anybody to be fearful. I don't think that it's solving any of our problems. I don't see that it's enhancing anybody's chance of staying virus-free. And so those of us, in fact, when I was in the grocery store tonight, there was a man walking by on his phone. He said, I'm just not buying into all this fear. And I wanted to go up and hug him, but since he was on the phone, I didn't. But and we're not allowed to hug right now anyhow, right? No love, isolation, separation, and all the things that the Course tells us not to do. But I'm not suggesting that you don't follow the suggestions of what's being recommended because it is a very powerful virus and it is airborne, and if you start touching one another and things like that, you can be spreading the illness. But at the same time, I don't think we need to not be in a state of loving consciousness. So when I go to the store, I'm smiling, I'm saying hi to everybody, I'm talking to the clerks. The staff are so stressed out. I'm still going to work every day. I'm one of 4 people that are showing up in the building. They have plenty of sterilizers. They're cleaning out the building, sterilizing, wiping it down every morning and night, which is very nice of them. And they're handling the doorknobs and all the susceptible areas, and they have hand sanitation around the building. But there's 4 of us that are showing up for work, and I don't know how many tenants there are in the building. I'd say probably 50, 60 people, because there's different amounts of people in each office. But I choose to stay in the place of calm and peace and love. If I get sick, I get sick. I'll deal with that when I get sick. I don't want to use all my energy preparing to get sick, and then, I'm more susceptible. So I need to save my energy if the crisis occurs, not before it occurs. So right now, it seems that the world is in this mass state of total panic. And if you look at the fact that there's 7 to 8 billion people on the planet, and the fact that I think it's 50,000 max, no, actually I think it's like a couple 100,000 max have gotten the virus, and it's under probably 25,000 that have died, which is lower than most viruses, flus and things like that kill people. So if we can kind of just stick with the facts and we do the right things, we really don't have anything to fear. It's not like the virus is coming and we need to, it's an illness. We always have illnesses, and the Course teaches us that the more we stay in the place of self-love and we get sick when we treat ourselves lovelessly. So if we're not smoking, and we're not drinking, and we're not doing drugs, and we're taking care of our physical and emotional well-being, we are in a very low risk category. Now, those of us who haven't done that and who have treated our bodies in a loveless manner and have developed illnesses are more susceptible. So now you need to double down and make sure that you treat yourself with extra love and care. Because the Course teaches us that illness is the result of treating our body lovelessly and our minds lovelessly. So we don't want to be in a state of panic and anxiety, because that is not love, that is fear. But I took some notes this morning because I want to make sure I get this right. We know that we always have the choice between love and fear, but one of the things that I was reading this morning was that that fear is something that we have control over. Now, we might not think we do because we've never challenged this thought that, the news is constantly saying the virus is coming, all these people are going to die, this is how it's going to happen, this is how you're going to get it, and you've got to go into total lockdown and total isolation, total separation, and that may or may not be true. But we do have control, whether it is true or not, we do have control over our fear of it. Now, I have a news flash. Every single person on this planet is going to die. That is unavoidable. So you may go from the coronavirus. Chances are you're not, if you look at the statistics and the odds. Chances are that you're going to leave the planet from some other cause. But we all are going to die, and so we don't need to be afraid of that, because it's going to happen. And the more that we embrace that final process, the more peaceful and loving that transition will be for ourselves and our family. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the fear that's going on right now is based on a lot of possibilities and not necessarily what's actually happening. So there are major precautions being taken, and I'm not saying that that's not a good thing. It's just that we can observe all that's happening without engaging in the panic and the fear. It's not necessary. So the Course teaches us, and this is a direct quote, we are not only responsible for what we do, but what we think. Our thoughts cause us to do what we do. So if I have fear-based thoughts and I'm scared, that's going to control my reaction and how I handle that. So if I'm watching the news constantly and the virus is coming, the Martians are coming, the asteroids are coming, the World War III is coming, it's all bad, it's all disaster, that's what's selling the news, then that's going to possibly control my thoughts. So I can either watch the TV and go, let's see, do I want to watch Law and Order? Do I want to watch CNN? Do I want to watch the Bonanza? What do I want to watch on TV? It's all a show. And I don't have to get totally engaged. When I'm watching, last night my husband and I were watching a real suspense show, and my heart was racing and everything, but I was able to go, this is a show. So we could do the same thing with the virus. This is a show. It's probably not going to affect me. It might affect me, but right now it hasn't affected me. So I don't need to have all the panic reactions. Because when I start thinking, oh my God, the virus is coming and it's going to get me, then I'm rushing around and doing all these things that are very stressful. So the thought that this is something to fear, and it's definitely going to happen, and I'm at risk, and all these bad things are going to happen, causes me to do things that are not loving and helpful to me. Now, of course, if I'm stocking up on supplies, and of course, if I make sure I have enough food, and of course, if I'm doing the advice of sanitation, those are healthy choices. But rushing to the store every morning at 7 a.m. to grab as much as I can, and sealing up my house and never going out and all of these things is really, really adding stress. So, and I also want to talk about how this applies to our addictions too, because trying to control everything is an addiction also. Whether we're trying to control drugs, whether we're trying to control, how much we eat, our sex lives, whatever we're trying to control, when there's negative consequences, that's an addiction. So when we are trying to control all of these other things in our life, we're trying to control avoiding the coronavirus, and we're doing that to the extent that it's costing us a great deal of money, a great deal of stress, a great deal of all these negative things. We are acting in an addictive way. I have to overcome. I have to make sure that I don't get sick. I have to, all this control, rather than just doing the sensible things and making loving choices. It's the choice for fear versus the choice for love. So is this making you guys, okay. It's not a pleasant topic to talk about choosing fear, especially when there's a crisis going on. So what the Course teaches us, change your mind, not your behavior. So in other words, when you change your mind, your behavior will change. So if I'm watching the news constantly and I'm reacting to it rather than just saying, this is the show I'm watching right now, I really don't know what the facts are. I mean, they're saying this virus started in China. I don't know that for a fact. I can only know that that's what I'm being told. And we're saying that it's going to get worse, it's going to get worse, it's going to get worse. And yet we're doing all these things to keep it from expanding. So I don't know what's true about that. What I do know is that when I take care of myself and I stay calm and I stay in the place of love, I'm far less likely to get it. So changing my thoughts, I'm not afraid of this because I'm choosing to love myself. I'm choosing to love all of you. I'm choosing to be here tonight. I'm choosing to go to the grocery store and smile. I'm choosing to do the necessary steps to protect myself and my family as best I can, and to show up for my patients every day. And I'm choosing those loving acts make me feel safe and calm. If I were running around in a panic state, I would not feel safe and calm. So by thinking those kinds of thoughts that are connected to my Holy Spirit, then my actions are aligned with that, rather than listening to these ego-based thoughts. The Martians are coming, the coronavirus. I mean, they have these, I think I talked about this before, they have these giant pictures of this gigantic one viral cell on the TV screens, and it looks like it reminds me of the sci-fi fiction stories where it's coming to get you, it's coming to get you, and everybody's panicking, and so we don't need to do that. So the first thing is you want to change your thought so that you can change your actions will automatically change. If you're not worshiping the fear, then you won't be acting in a fear-based state. It says that fear is the disconnect from God, and it causes us to mentally separate from God and from others. And any fear is a sign of strain, and any strain is not love. So it's saying the strain comes from you want one thing, but you do another. So we want health. We want to stay healthy. We want to avoid the virus, but then we race around and we watch the news constantly and we fuel the fear. And so we want peace. We want health. We want to make sure we don't get the virus, but then we're doing the opposite. And the same is true with addictions. We want to be abstinent. We want to not be drinking. We don't want hangovers. We don't want lung cancer. We don't want, divorces. We don't want to ruin our families. We want that, but then we do something else because of the fear. The fear that I want to enjoy myself without this, the fear of giving it up, and how will my life look if I give it up, and the fear of living without my vices and all of this. So the first problem is we want one thing and we do another. And then it says the other conflicts is you do one thing and you want another. So I'm racing around, scared to death, and acting from the fear. So I'm doing that, and yet I'm expecting myself to be at peace. I continue to use my addiction, but I'm expecting some miraculous, instantaneous thing to take it away from me. So the Course teaches us that this makes you, this sense that you have to give it up. This is really apparent right now. Like if I told somebody, you don't have to be afraid. You can wake up just as happy as any other day of the, you can't do that. I'm not giving up this. As if fear somehow protects me. Those of us that have been through trauma, and we've all been through it if we've been on the planet, and into the age group where we're at risk, we are so conditioned to thinking that fear protects us, but it doesn't protect us. What protects us is wisdom and listening to our Holy Spirit guide us. So if we think that we are being coerced into doing something, and that we are being coerced into giving up a behavior or an addiction, that only creates more stress, because those things are not aligned. What I do and what I want are not aligned. So we have to, first of all, say, if I'm not wanting to do this, then why stop doing it? There's no reason to stop doing something that you want to keep doing, because then you're going to feel that it's an external coercion. Even if it's an external coercion from your Holy Spirit or from your higher consciousness, you're not going to like being told to do anything, not even by your highest self. It's going to be a conflict. And anytime you have a coercion, you're wanting one thing and doing another, or you're doing one thing and wanting another, and that will never work, the Course tells us. And I think that's a really interesting kind of tweak that I was able to find in the Course today that I hadn't realized before. And it says whenever you feel coerced, you don't feel inspired. You feel the words out of the Course. You feel full of rage. I don't want to give this up. I don't want to give this up, but I want it to go away. Or I don't want to do this anymore, but I'm going to keep doing it. That internal conflict, which is really all about internal. There might be people making suggestions that your life would be better, our lives would be better, our relationship would be better, but the ego uses that as coercion, and so that creates that internal rage. I don't want to give this up. You can't make me give it up. I don't want to do it, but I want it to go away. And that's just a lose-lose scenario no matter how you look at it. So what we want to do is realize that, number one, if you have fear of any kind, it means, and I thought this was clever, you have not made up your mind. So you haven't made up your mind to give it up. So remember, you want one thing and you do another. So you could say to yourself, I don't want to be fearful, but then you're acting fearful. Or you say, I'm going to stop acting fearful, but part of you still enjoys it. There's a lot of drama and excitement going on right now. People are feeling very alive in the fear of dying. And that's one of the good things. It makes us appreciate our life and our health when this type of crisis hits a planet. So this is really, to realize, make up your mind. What do you want? Do you want a life of peace and love and contentment, or do you want the conflict? God's not going to intercede. The Course tells us our will, our natural will is already aligned with God's will, to love ourselves, to love one another. And so when we're abusing ourselves with stress or drugs or alcohol or any kind of addiction or drama that's not good for us, we are not choosing love. So until we do decide that we do want love and we choose to act in that manner, God isn't out to get us. We have free will. So, but when we choose that these things aren't serving us, they're robbing us of our moments of happiness, our moments of joy, our moments of peace. And all of you deserve that. You deserve to have that peace of mind and happiness. And everything else is a substitute for that in this control and addiction. So once we decide that we can make up our mind to just let go of all that, and that we do want the peace, and that we act in that manner, then it's very easy to give it up. It's not a strain at all. There's no strain in giving up an addiction. The strain is in wanting one thing and doing another, or doing one thing and wanting another. That's the strain. And until you're ready to align those two things in the same direction, you will be fighting an internal battle that you can't win. And you will be depleting your resources and your energy and your stamina for when you really need it, because there are definite things that happen in life where we really do need that energy to be able to approach that situation from a place of calm and peace and love. And if we've depleted all our energy in the imaginary before it happens, we don't have that resource when we need it the most. So the Course teaches us to escape this fear, recognize you have decided not to love in some way. And that makes perfectly good sense if you think about it. If I'm trying to control and I'm all stressed out and I'm all fear-based and then I'm angry, that's not love. Love means that I can go inward and ask for guidance and kind of take all the information out there. What makes sense? What doesn't make sense? What do I need to do to love myself? I'm not going to ignore all the information being given. Some of it's very good information. So I'm going to sort through that. My Holy Spirit will guide me and direct me. I continue to eat healthy, get good night's sleep, and use the sanitation procedures that are recommended. And the Course says I'm safe wherever I go. So we want to be sure that we stay in that place of calm and peace and loving. So anytime you have that fear, to recognize that that in some way you have decided not to love. It could be yourself, it could be someone else. And this is particularly true with addiction. It could, I'm not choosing to love myself if I'm engaging in an addiction. Now my ego will tell me I'm doing something nice for myself, but doing something nice for the moment is not loving yourself. We all know that. We want to recognize the fear. We want to recognize that it arises from lack of love, and that the only remedy for lack of love is love. So the only thing to do right now is to remember to love yourself. That means staying calm, not buying into what's not real, doing the necessary steps to take good care of yourself and your family. Don't shut yourself off into a box. You can still stay connected through social media, through the phone. You can still check on people. You can still share and receive love. And if it's safe enough to go to the grocery store, to the petri dish, where all of this is like mass amounts of opportunity for getting the virus, because a lot of people that are there are not necessarily healthy, but we're all congregated in these very small areas and these grocery lines packed in and all. So if you can do that, you can go out for a walk in the sunshine, you can get out a little bit and do things, go for a drive, do things that are good. Fresh air and sunshine will never hurt you. And I also read recently from a virologist, one of my patients gave me a really nice report, and it said that this particular virus, it does not like warmth. So it was interesting. Everyone I heard today, I don't know if this is true, but I heard today, people visiting here or living here are flocking out of the state. This is probably the safest state to be in. I thought that was really funny because of the warmth. So the virus is not, it's a cold friendly virus. So it thrives. The article said even try, avoiding drinking ice drinks. That could be one of those little tips that helps you. But I thought that was really interesting that we could probably be in one of the safest climates and yet run from Florida. After everybody ran down here to save taxes. And then to always remember the atonement, which is the atonement is when we stop being separated from ourselves, from our true self, the self that we are really and truly love. That's what we are. We're here to love and to share and receive love. And sometimes these type of disasters do bring us together, but right now it seems like it's creating separation. It's all about me, getting my groceries, getting my safety, and so we want to kind of stay in that consciousness. We don't have to hug and kiss, but we can still send love and we can still be love, and trust our Holy Spirit to keep us in safety, in warmth, in love and caring. And so with that, it says that the split, which is a split off from the fact that we truly are the loving Holy Spirit, and the split off from one another, that to remember that it's between you and a loving God, it's between you and yourself, and you and others. When we keep that unity intact, when we share and our consciousness stays in caring and loving. And all of you are here. All of you are here tonight because you chose that love instead of the fear. And I'm so happy that you are here, and I'm so happy with those of you that are tuning in. We might have a couple questions or comments.
We have a couple people just saying hello. Paula
Okay.
Taylor says, I'm here. And Alana Combs says, hello, Dr. Marks.
Hello. Welcome. We're happy you're here. That's connecting. That's staying connected. Healing the split, the separation that the Course talks about, and staying connected as one. Okay, well, what time is it?
6:31.
Okay, so we'll end our live video tonight if there's no questions.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for joining us.